you think Coinbase, from I gather, did everything the right way. But are you not concerned about the SEC going after Binance assets and freezing the U.S.
They've
assets
already
to be
done.
some correlation to what happened at
They've
Coinbase?
already done that.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking in. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and welcome to our latest Traded Black podcast. Lots going on this week. Big news from Coinbase. What to make of all this? And are there concerns about the overall growth of the crypto industry, especially here in the US? And what kind of long-term effects does it have on you, the investor? Also, we'll quick look into the cannabis space. There is some news regarding safe banking. Otherwise, a slow week for the industry, but there was some news pertaining to that garnered a little bit of interest. And could we see safe banking hit the floor for a vote in the near-term future? It could happen. So let's find out more as we welcome in the boys. Anthony Verrill, millennial entrepreneur and host of the Dales Report. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you as well. It's been a busy week. Been a very busy week.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What a time in Miami.
Yeah.
Got the NBA Finals one night, Stanley Cup Finals the next night.
Got Messi on the way.
Jeepers. Benjamin A. Smith, lead financial writer, TDR. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you guys.
Real quick, Ben, we got some feedback from the last podcast that your camera was a little blurry in the first couple of minutes. Can we fix that?
Yes, I think we can. I think it's okay now. I saw that the first segment for first 4 or 5 minutes was a little blurry, and then it corrected itself after that. So I got the old self-correcting camera going.
I think it might be even a little bit blurry right now.
Yeah.
So why don't you show people how you adjust your camera? Anthony and I will just talk about life in Miami. Good time to obviously be a Panthers and Heat fan, but let's begin. What the heck is going on with Coinbase? I know everybody's pretty much been talking about it. I think we lost Ben there for a second, but
there we go.
When we touch on Coinbase, the company obviously found itself in hot water at the SEC over its proposed lending program, which the SEC claims is a security. CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, this week took to Twitter to express his frustration with the SEC's stance on the company's proposed lending program. And in those series of tweets, he stated that the SEC has threatened to sue Coinbase over the program, which the SEC claims mentioned as a security. So, Anthony, we begin with you. Is Coinbase in trouble?
I think there's a lot to unpack there in that statement. Are they in trouble? I don't think so. Is this a watershed moment for the crypto industry? Yes. But I think there's a lot of history here and there's a lot of context into what's going on. This SEC lawsuit that was brought onto Coinbase was precluded by a lawsuit that was served to Binance. They're both the number one and number two crypto exchanges globally. I think you need to take a step back and understand where Binance is right now. Binance is a publicly traded company on a major U.S. stock exchange. I just said Binance. Coinbase is a major crypto exchange that is publicly traded on a major stock exchange in the United States. That means that Coinbase had to go through audits. Coinbase had to register an S1 with the SEC, and Coinbase had to have their business deemed as legal by the regulating authorities in the United States before they went public. So Gary Gensler actually had to sign off on the S1 that let Coinbase go public. So I want to just rifle off a couple of numbers real quick. In the Coinbase S1, staking, which is one of the main points that the SEC is making to deem a crypto a security, was mentioned 51 times. Coinbase have met with the SEC to create guidance as it relates to crypto 30 times. Coinbase rejects 90% of the assets that apply to list on their exchange as they could be a security or they don't meet the requirements to list on Coinbase. The Howey test, which is how you deem a security, is 77 years old. 33 countries right now are establishing comprehensive crypto reform. 0 comprehensive rules have been made or progress has been made in America. Gary now is just suing everybody like a pissed off ex-wife. There's a lot of knives out commentary that's in the media. One thing that I find is funny, and it's a very, very positive thing for the sector. When these lawsuits broke, crypto I'm just going to use Ethereum as an example.
Yeah. Yep.
Ethereum sold off to about 1805. Since then, it's sitting at about 1850. If this was 5 years ago,
Anthony, let
Go
me
ahead,
stop you
Ben.
there for a second because I don't want you to get too far from the point. I let you go on there. But on that note, Gary Gensler came out that in 2019, I believe, he actually applied to be an advisor at Binance. And
at Binance,
obviously,
yeah,
I don't think that that happened. So people are speculating that he could be going after Binance because he didn't get that role, or there could be some connection there.
yeah.
Should he recuse himself from all dealings in this suit? Or what is your take on that? Does that play at all?
I'd love to see him recuse himself, but I mean, at the same time, that I don't think that's possible. And at the same time, when you look at the lawsuits, they're not apples to apples; they're apples to oranges. I firmly believe that the behavior that the SEC is alleging that Binance took place, it's probably true. CZ probably did funnel billions of dollars
Yeah.
in funds through U.S. bank accounts. They probably did intermix between their U.S. and their international exchanges. I think that there's a lot of merit in the Binance lawsuit. Coinbase, I think it's completely meritless. I think that to give Coinbase the green light to go public and to sign off on their S1 to deem it worthy of being a publicly traded company, and Gary Gensler is the bastion of integrity for the U.S. capital markets. How is he not being labeled a hypocrite? Now saying that he's going to
Is
sue them for malpractice and sue them for not taking the investors protection seriously. If anything, he's arguing against himself. He deemed it that the company, his main mandate is to protect investors in this country, retail and institutional alike. So if you're going to say that that stock is worthy of us, the retail audience, going and buying it on a major exchange in a TradFi environment, you then are then also saying that that fundamental business of that crypto exchange is worthy of your signature. There's a
But
is this
isn't the
just
SEC also saying that Binance didn't properly disclose the risks of a commodity to their users on the platform? Isn't that one of their beefs as well?
with Binance. Yes, I'm strictly talking Coinbase right now.
Oh, it's
I'm
strictly
strictly
Coinbase.
talking Coinbase. As far as Binance goes, I think that Binance is probably going to get booted out of the United States as far as their operating company goes and as far as their exchange goes. And if that does happen, that is the most bullish catalyst for Coinbase possible.
why?
Why?
Explain.
Because as long as those funds don't all get vaporized, all of those consumer funds that are on Binance US are going to flow
Mhm.
into Coinbase. Coinbase isn't getting shut down.
Mhm.
I mean, Coinbase is not getting shut down. It's not disappearing. They have done everything by the rules, and they have been trying to get the SEC and to get the U.S. regulators to come to the table to create a framework. There are a lot of friends of Coinbase in the House, in the Senate, in the U.S. government that are aiding in the process and trying to push things forward to make it a positive environment for Coinbase to operate into. I think Binance is fucked.
Why is the old guard continuing to stomp their feet in the US? Why? Especially when you see some of these BRICS alliance countries fully embracing and fast tracking their way years ahead of what the US is currently doing.
Yeah, I mean it's hands up in the air as far as I'm concerned when it relates to that. I mean, there's a lot to be said. I think that there's some maybe ulterior motives when you look at Russia, when you look at China, why they're now taking a positive crypto stance. You've got Esber Bank, which is the largest bank in
Well, hold
Russia.
on, hold on, hold on. What are some of those ulterior
That's what I'm
motives
about
that
to.
you're
Yeah. So
sorry, apologies.
you've got Esper Bank in Russia, which is the largest bank in Russia, now enabling consumers to trade in the crypto markets, which it was deemed illegal in Russia not too long ago. You've got
Okay.
Chinese state-sponsored banks in Hong Kong and Singapore that are setting up crypto infrastructure. You could argue that in a vacuum, maybe Russia and China are setting this crypto-friendly environment up to funnel all of the tokens and funnel all of the currencies into these exchanges and then cut the head of the snake off and be able to control it to some degree. I'm not saying that that's what I think, or I'm not saying that that's what they're trying to do, But the only way that makes sense, at least from where I'm standing, is that for them to reverse course to where they think, all right, crypto's not controllable. Let's deploy these enterprises. Let's aggregate everybody's money and then just shut it off, which they're able to do. That would be cataclysmic for the crypto sector.
Stuff
So
to
what do you
think
think
about.
about, so you're not worried at all? I know you sort of designate Binance and Coinbase to be two different operations. You think Coinbase, from I gather, did everything the right way. But are you not concerned about the SEC going after Binance assets and freezing the US
They've
assets
already
to be
done.
some correlation to what happened at
They've
Coinbase?
already done that at Binance.
They've already done that. Yeah.
The bank, the money center banks and the major banks in the U.S. right now are not accepting deposits from Binance. They're cutting Binance off from the banking system until this lawsuit comes to an understanding. I don't think they're going to do that with Coinbase. I have money on Coinbase. I haven't moved my money off of Coinbase. That being said, Coinbase is the only centralized exchange that I would actually keep my money on. Now, that's not financial advice. I'm not telling you should keep your money on there. Or if you think your money is safe, I'm willing to take the risk with that entity. It's the only one that I'll do it with. And I don't think that it's a weird situation because Gensler's actually knives out right now. He came out and said that we don't need any more currencies. All we need is the US dollar. Like, I don't know who the fuck he thinks he is to tell me what I need from a financial perspective. I don't think he knows what the consumer needs, and he really has the interest of the consumer at heart. I think he's reaching. I don't think he also has any sort of ammo or to come to the table with to make an argument. I think that he's backed into a corner. Gary Gensler is backed into a corner just as much as Brian Armstrong of Coinbase is backed into a corner. And unfortunately, he's acting from an extreme position right now, which I think it's going to ultimately lead to a positive outcome of the situation that we're in right now.
Okay, Anthony, let me ask you this. Does it seem like the SEC has gone a little bit lighter on FTX? I know that sort of blew up, more quickly, and it blew up earlier. But does it seem like there's more scrutiny with the exchanges that haven't gone into all the issues that FTX got into, or is there some sort of political thing at play?
Yeah. So I was listening to Bankless yesterday, who just had, I forget the gentleman's name, but they had someone on. They were talking about what's it going to take to get crypto regulation over the finish line, which right now they believe it's going to take about $100 million in aggregate, and then deploying that in different efforts as lobbying, as getting in the good graces of a lot of politicians that need it to be done. In that segment of the podcast, one of the main takeaways was Sam Bankman-Fried actually had the model right. He was doing all of the right things that needed to be done. He was doing them with the wrong motives to get things accomplished. They're going to roll out.
You think?
I'm not talking about no. Hold on. I'm not talking about fundamentally in the business of FTX. I'm talking about strictly about his efforts about being a face and a voice for the crypto sector in Washington. He was making the right friends. He was doing the right things. That being said, I mean, you can trace back his parents being involved in super PACs with the Democratic Party, and you can trace back to them having maybe unsavory political affiliations. That's nor here nor there. The fact of the matter is he was doing things to get to this point in time where we have sensible regulation around the crypto industry. There are people right now, there are very powerful voices within the industry that are trying to propel this forward in the face of this Coinbase lawsuit. I firmly believe that there's going to be a positive outcome from this. I don't know what it's going to look like. I sure as hell hope it's not going to look like Mika over in Europe, or any sort of framework that they're doing in Australia, which is extremely restrictive. I mean, they're mandating at the consumer level how much money you can actually put on an exchange in Australia, which to me goes against a lot of things, but I don't think we're going to get into that. This is getting a little bit long in the tooth, as is. But I don't think it's any cause for concern or some existential threat as it stands right now. Granted, that can change very quickly.
Yeah. Binance as well making news this week. Interview on CNBC where they pretty much gave the middle finger to none other than the SEC again, telling employees that their CEO, basically CZ, was saying that if they don't like the way the company is being run or addressing the SEC lawsuit, they can pretty much leave. What do you make of that?
It's his company. I mean, do I agree with it?
I saw that interview on CNBC. It was.
I mean, do I agree with it? No. Do I think that he doesn't give a fuck? Probably. I mean, he's a Chinese Canadian national that probably won't come on U.S. soil ever again. Does he really?
That is the biggest thing I got away from that interview.
Oh,
the questions that he was being asked.
He ain't never.
He did not.
He ain't never coming here.
No.
He doesn't care. I mean, he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire that can. Yeah, I mean, he does not care. He literally doesn't care, and I'll tell you that to your face.
Yeah.
I don't think the future is bright for Binance at all, especially as it relates to the U.S. I think Coinbase is what you're going to see as the TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, or Fidelity.
Real quick, for people still trying to learn the industry, why a big believer of Coinbase? Why not a big believer of Binance?
Well, if you look at U.S. politics right now, I mean, it's a very anti-Chinese agenda that's going on. You've got a Chinese company of origin with a Chinese national as the CEO. They're not a domestic powerhouse, as you would say, as far as the crypto.
You think that's the root of it all, or is there more to it?
I mean, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. And I do believe that Coinbase was intermingling funds. I mean, Binance. I do believe that Binance were intermingling funds. I believe that everything that Gary Gensler is probably saying and alleging in the SEC lawsuit against Binance, it's probably true. But at the same time, there isn't a firm framework for these companies to operate in. So they're operating in these gray areas. They don't have a choice.
So there's some truth. So there's definitely some truth to what he's saying then, right?
As it relates to Binance, yes. As it relates to Coinbase, I don't know how you can call these ancillary crypto tokens securities and call staking securities or methods that the SEC wouldn't sign off on when you sign the S1 and you deem their business fundamentally sound to sell as a stock to investors.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Lots to watch.
This is incredible. To me, from my vantage point, it really looks like the knives are coming out in a big way. To me, it looks like less so for consumer protection and more so because maybe the Fed is trying to drive crypto away. The SEC. It makes me wonder whether they're trying to protect the Fed now payment system that is in the pipeline.
They are.
Or yeah, I mean that. So it strikes me as very political, as opposed, but cloaked under a consumer-based protection of investors. Where I think, at least to me, it looks very political.
I mean, I think it is very political, and I mean, I think that's a very good point. That's a very valid point that crypto is the biggest existential threat to the traditional finance system. And I mean, how do you control people? You control them through money. I mean, you control them through debt. You don't control them through self-sovereignty. So, I mean, yes, it does pose an existential threat to the traditional financial system, which is how people are controlled right now. The Fed and the US...
it doesn't seem any difference in gold, right? Like, think about the fiat money system and think about what the Nixon, going off the gold standard, Roosevelt in the 1930s before that, and then Nixon fully off the gold standard in the 70s.
It's
almost like gold and fiat.
I literally keep this on my desk. I literally keep this on my desk to remind me. It's a 10-ounce silver bar. I don't keep any of my physical gold on my desk, but I literally keep it on my desk to remind me that like self-sovereignty matters. They have outlawed things like that before. That in gold form was illegal to own, which I firmly disagree with.
Exactly, and that's my ultimate point: is that the federal monetary system in the U.S. has always been a monopoly, right?
Yeah.
Before it was fiat and gold, and now this almost looks like the CBDCs are in the pipeline. The Fed now payment system goes live in July. it looks like they're trying to edge out crypto, make it hard to operate, so that they can have a monopoly on the new system that's going to be digital based currencies coming in through. Except it's going to be centralized, controlled by the Fed, and they don't want things like crypto, Bitcoin,
Yeah.
altcoins,
Yeah.
have to be an alternative for consumers. That I don't
Yeah.
know. I could be wrong, but that's
I think
that's
you're
what it
dead. I
strikes
think
me
you're
as.
dead on. You couldn't be more right in that assumption. The
Change is coming.
Yeah, you
First
couldn't
thing
be
with
more
change is
right in that assumption. And I mean, their biggest threat and what they're scared of the most is there being a day where you don't need a US dollar to transact, which
Mhm.
if crypto scaled and if crypto had mass adoption and you were able to use it across the broad spectrum of things that you interact with, you don't need the US dollar anymore. The only reason that I need the
Mhm.
US dollar right now is so I can take my Ethereum and bring it back over to a large money center bank. I would love nothing more than to have my entire net worth on chain, but I can't use it in day-to-day transactions. I can't go. I mean, I guess I could now buy a house in Bitcoin if I wanted to. I can't use Ethereum for Uber Eats. If I could,
You
my
would.
entire net worth is getting out of Wells Fargo and off TD Ameritrade tomorrow, and I
Yep.
would put it all on chain and be able to actually own dollar for dollar what I'm worth, and there's no threat to that.
And no more Swift.
And
You
they
don't have
can't,
to use the Swift system
and they can't,
anymore.
but they also,
Cumbersome, expensive.
yeah, but they also can't control it. I mean, if I sold this house right now and let's say I made $1 million, I put that $1 million in profit into Wells Fargo, and then now they take my million and they're going to go leverage it and do whatever the fuck they want with it. If it's
10 to 1
probably 100 to 1,
or
Yeah.
100 to
yeah,
1
probably
even.
100 to
Yeah.
1. If I put it on chain or if I'm using self custody, they can't do anything with it. It's of no use to
Yep.
them.
So
It's
there's no leverage. There's nobody leveraging crypto, like
yeah,
fractionalizing
you know
it,
who's
leverage.
leveraging crypto is fucking Sam. SBF was leveraging
Mm,
crypto. There's leverage crypto products. I mean, if I'm a consumer and I put my Ethereum in Coinbase, I've now given Coinbase a centralized authority, my tokens. But on my MetaMask, on my ledger, in cold storage, those tokens cannot be accessed. Those tokens are completely 100% mine. Centralized
yeah.
exchanges, you're basically giving them the access to your tokens. That can be leveraged. Not saying they are.
And with the CBDs, if that ever takes hold, then you're going to give the federal government the power to perhaps tell you, where you can spend it on.
Oh yeah.
Power of taxation without representation. It is a whole slippery slope. I think that's where they want everything to go. And crypto is absolute kryptonite compared
Yeah,
to
yeah.
where they want to take the next system to.
Yeah, with the CBDC, I mean, they can easily say that you're driving too much. Um, we're gonna dock you this, or yeah, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
very very slippery slope. They
Too
can say
much
that it's
carbon. You ate too much meat.
yeah,
Can't buy this product.
yeah,
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 here's a good carbon tax because you traveled too much and you went over your allotment.
yeah,
You spend it within 18 months or you're going to lose half your currency. It'll
correct.
be harder to save. This is
You think
where the new iteration of currencies is going, where your asset is actually the Fed's asset.
Correct.
and we will look back and think, man, wasn't it great to grow up in the era that we grew up in?
Absolutely. I'm already saying that, Shad, in a lot of ways.
Jeepers.
I mean, I prefer it. I prefer it now, but I just think the people need to wake.
That's fair.
People need
That's
to
fair.
people need to
But
wake up and realize that there's a lot of force. I mean, so I absolutely hate Andrew Tate. I don't agree with 99% of the things that he said, but he made a very good point. And this is as it relates to the
okay.
election. He was on YouTube the other day, and the example that he gave was actually pretty brilliant. He was like, if you put me and Ben in a room and gave us some sort of competition that was winner take all, someone's going to try and figure out a way to cheat. It's human nature.
Yep. I saw this.
You don't think that people do that at the highest levels of government? You don't think that people do that at the highest levels of corporation? It is human nature to get an advantage over the other person by any means necessary. You don't think that the government and the banks and the power companies and everybody like are acting in that same interest? I like to
Ben,
think.
how you like that
Well,
carbon tax? How do you like that carbon tax that's coming to Canada in the next few weeks?
I like to think not. But
yeah, it's going to be up 25%. And just to extrapolate on what Anthony said, just to go a step further, I would argue that to be, a lead politician, a tier one, like leading a country, or maybe even in the ministry segment of government, you almost have to be a sociopath, because if you
Yeah.
you have to be cutthroat and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. The people who are in power right now are not there because they're running on their principles. They're in there because they're following specific guidelines, and about which way the ultimate powers are, foundations,
Yeah.
non-governmental organizations, which direction that they want to go. That's why when you look at policies, they don't actually make a lot of sense in a lot of cases for a lot of people, and you
no,
wonder, everybody's always wondering, why are they doing that, or why is the government doing that? It's because they're not really instituting policies for you. It's more instituting policies for uh you know
you know who
the
everybody
institutions
thought
that I just mentioned.
you know who everybody thought was batshit crazy that actually made
Who?
the most sense out of anybody in
Who?
maybe the last decade or two is Ron Paul. I thought the man was fucking crazy. I thought he was like crazy old man. Like
Hmm.
he he made a lot of sense. He made a
Yeah, and there are a few people and politicians who are not really all that good. Like they run on principle, and they can be Congress people. They can
I think
be, but
Bernie.
I mean,
I think
they're few and far
Bernie.
between.
I think Bernie is a well principled human being. I don't think Bernie's full of shit. I think Bernie's crazy, and there's a lot of things that I don't agree with him on. Um, but I think that he actually does genuinely care about the welfare of the American people.
Yeah,
Um,
if you guys get a chance, check out this new not Netflix. I watched it last night documentary. It's a 3 episode series of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it actually really has a highlight focus on his time as governor of California. And he actually did an incredible job at actually forming both parties to work actually amongst each other. But when he first entered into the office, it was just like, at the end of the day, you can see that there's a lot of agendas that are obviously benefiting people are in Congress and not the actual people. And I found it fascinating. I know some people may agree or disagree, but at the end of the day, you're right to your point, Anthony, that yes, Anthony or Bernie's a little bit of an oddball, but I definitely think he genuinely cares about the future of the American
oh
people.
yeah, and when ChatGPT starts launching nukes, Terminator will be a self fulfilling prophecy
Right.
for Arnold.
John Connor, baby.
Yeah.
Call him up. We need him.
Yep.
I think that pretty much wraps up this week. We're about 26, 7 minutes into this. I know there was a little bit of news pertaining to Safe this week in cannabis. Stocks pretty much flat for the most part. We did see some interest midweek. But real quick, I'll ask, we continue to see different narratives in the conversations that we're having with people that they do believe that there's something here, that this bill will get a vote on the floor and it's going to happen sooner or later. Do you agree with that, Ben?
It's hard to say. I would say that there's a good chance of that. Obviously, it's going for a markup in the Senate Banking Committee, and so the chair is going to bring it to the committee, and they'll have a majority vote. And if it passes that, then it could get a floor vote. I think the big wild card in this scenario is what amendments are going to be, introduced in there into the current language, and that could throw some people off, and that could prevent it from getting the votes necessary to go to a floor vote. And then of course, if it does make it there, it has to get 60 votes on the floor in order to become law. So
Which
um,
we're hearing that is at stake. Or
that is at stake. Sherrod Brown has mentioned that there's a couple other pieces of legislation that will
yeah,
probably be voted on first before the July 4th recess. So there are other priorities involved here. So as it stands right now, it's I'm very cautious, wait and see approach.
yep.
But it stands a pretty good chance that there is a decent shot here. I'm just going to, wait and see until we see what some of the final language is before, getting more excited about it. But we did
Man,
see good volume in MSOs, so I think some people are front running what could happen, and
yeah.
that's a good sign. We
Yeah.
shall see.
And I'm a sucker. I did buy cannabis stocks this week.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
Anthony was one of them.
I went against my very very strong thesis of
You're
waiting.
20%. I'll miss the first 20%.
Yeah, so let's add a little context here. I bought 10%.
What the heck? All right, here come the comments.
I bought 10% of the Curaleaf position that I plan to buy. That is it. That
Okay.
is it. I'm staying there. I'm not going to budge until something concrete happens. But I did buy
Okay.
Curaleaf this week.
Don't leave any money on the table like Tiger Woods is 800 million and Rory McIlroy. Can you imagine these guys walking away for the amount of money that they did just 12 months ago with Liv, only to find out 12 months later that the two companies align? I would be pissed.
We could go
I
for
can't believe that
another. We
announcement.
could probably go for another half hour on that alone.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Okay. We'll do an actual Live PGA podcast. Let us know. Do you want us to cover Live PGA, what it works? Are the contracts with Live players going to actually be what's the term I'm trying to think of? Will they still exist once the two
I've heard some interesting things.
how does that happen?
I've heard some real interesting things around the finances around. I think the other players are going to get paid, and I think you're going to see big people like Nike come in and buy these Live teams and start sponsoring them. There's going to be a lot of money to be made in this merger.
But how does a guy like Dustin Johnson with his 125 million able to keep that now that the two companies, there's got to be some sort of
What do you mean?
compensation.
With the risk comes the reward. Dustin Johnson made a decision.
Yes.
Dustin Johnson made a calculated business decision that paid off. Phil Mickelson made a calculated business decision that paid off. I mean,
some of the memes I've seen this week, guys just coming in and partying in the clubhouse, the Live players. I'm like, yeah, they've walked away, but
I just can't believe that Liv paid him all that money. Like, Tiger Woods turned down what, 600 million?
800.
I can because
like, I know golf is big business, but I mean, like that's crazy. That's more than like Aaron Rodgers or the top QBs in the NFL make.
Yeah, Ben, you're a very, very intelligent investor. They literally pull money out of the ground.
No, I get that. They have money.
They have no regard. They have no regard for spending. They just offered Lionel Messi 3 years, $1.6 billion to play soccer. They offered him 500 plus million a year. They have no regard for money.
Live golf in 12 months changed golf forever.
Yeah, I mean,
forever.
If you think about it,
like, can you imagine Patrick Mahomes packing up his bags and going to a league in the Middle East?
Oh, dude!
And then all of a sudden, you look,
yeah,
Aaron Rodgers joins. Like that would have credibility overnight. I would watch that.
You would argue that Live spend on the front end, and all those players got their ultimate goal achieved, and now they have full integration into the PGA.
And I love.
Sorry, last thing though, weren't the ratings not that great for Live? At least
so the ratings were terrible. The ratings were pretty bad for Live. But that being said, Live was on the CW in the United States, which I don't even know if you guys get the CW in Canada, but it's like a bastardized regular cable network. And now you're going to get all the big boys from PGA competing in a team format in Live. If you have that on NBC, ABC, ESPN on a Saturday, Sunday, and you've got John Rahm and DJ playing Tiger and Rory in a team format,
that'd be cool.
Everyone's watching that. The big loser here, which sucks, might not suck because it's going to level out. But the big loser here is the PGA Tour players that aren't in the top 50, because if it's one major takeaway that Brooks Koepka made from going to Live, the guys that have already made it, they don't want to grind every week. They don't want to play every week. They need to heal.
Yeah,
and they need to have a slower pace. So the leaderboards in the lesser known tournaments that are still going to be televised for PGA, no one's going to watch. There's no incentive anymore with this integration for anyone outside of the top 50 to play in a lesser known PGA event. That's not the Players. That's not a major. That's one of the lesser known events, because why would you? You're going to play the majors. You're going to play the Ryder Cup, the Players Championship, and then you're going to go make all your money on the Live matches and play less golf.
Yeah. Their streaming numbers are strong. You can't, I've worked in traditional television. You can't look at TV ratings anymore. It's all about the audience, and streaming is massive right now. And that's where I think they've embraced just what the media landscape is today. And I
Yeah.
think, PGA had to make a decision because the way people have embraced the new rules, as you said, and the team's approach and the sponsorship opportunities, they changed golf forever. It's
Yeah.
great. It's cool.
Golf's about to blow.
Like when you think
Golf's about to
about,
blow up.
well, think about even memberships in golf. People aren't spending memberships anymore like they used to. And it's like they've got to revamp the whole game of golf and the time that people are spending and playing. Like there's a lot of private courses that I've been part of where you had to be a member of, like Club Link, for example. And now they're just letting anybody on to some of these private courses, even if you're not a member. But I definitely think that, the game itself has to be tweaked a little bit. Like, do people really want to go out and play 18 holes all the time? Maybe you have a course that only has 12.
Yeah, the purist is going to say.
I'm an 18 guy, but I'm
Yeah.
saying there are definitely ways of changing it and mixing it up,
What
which Liv
I'm,
has
I
done.
mean, this might
Maybe
seem
there's a shot clock
th-
like
th-
baseball.
this might seem very trivial, but my biggest thing that I'm looking for is to see if the PGA actually allows people to play in shorts.
I know.
Because
I was.
because
Yeah, I know.
that's what the live guys were doing, and it gives it
I
a
know.
different aesthetic. I don't think the PGA adopts that at all, but we'll see.
Just bring more of that waste management type atmosphere to
but
PGA.
If the PGA doesn't want
Like
that,
that's
the PGA doesn't. That's not the PGA. That's not. Unfortunately, you're about to get a push and pull here, like you're seeing
I
in
know.
like the government, like in the U.S. government. Like you've got the good old boys and the boomers that want to play golf
You're
a
right.
certain way, and then you've got guys
Yep.
that are my age and younger that want to play golf another certain way. Not being like we go out and play, we adhere to the rules. Shirts tucked in, everyone's playing very courteously, following the rules to a T, respecting the course, whatever. I mean, everyone's drinking, smoking joints, like doing whatever, playing golf. Like we take it, there's a light atmosphere, but there's other guys in the clubhouse that look at guys my age and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, especially at the private courses, they're like, oh, these young guys are ruining it. It's like, well, fuck you. We can afford to pay that. We can afford to pay to play here. So
Yeah.
deal with it.
You ever had a few too many on the course and
Oh yeah.
had the golf cart and a few sand traps?
No. Actually, my best man at my wedding did drive a golf cart into a lake when we were 14 or 15.
Oh, boys.
Yeah, at the course that we played at when we were younger.
Benny, how about you, buddy?
No, I can't say I ever had a Bob Barker moment. Always kept the cart on the course. So yeah, no. But I actually haven't played all that much lately. I used to play a lot, but life got busy, and
I did actually get a golf cart stuck in a sand trap at my bachelor party in Mexico.
Yeah.
I drove it into a ravine. So yes, it's happened a couple of times.
I was 17 years old and I drove a car over a golf course with 4 of my buddies. It was the greatest 3 minutes of our teenage lives.
Oh, we did that. We did that during a hurricane in high school. We took our buddy's mom's Range Rover onto the golf course and decided to start wakeboarding because the entire thing was underwater.
Well, guess what? I lost my license plate on the number 6 green. So they found it. And guess what I did? My father had to speak to the local police where I worked at that golf course for free that summer.
Oh, that sucks.
Lesson learned. Yeah. Anyways, good combos, guys. Hope everybody enjoyed it. And we'll check back with you next week.
Awesome. Talk soon.
Heading to Boston next week to see the MaryMed team. Then we're heading to Denver for the MAPS conference. And we're going to be heading to Chicago too.
I'm pumped.
SIBO.
I'm pumped for MAPS.
SIBO. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
yeah, we're going to be covering that large, right? We might have a Twitter Spaces there.
Yeah,
We're
I mean
gonna
the goal is
have-
going to
I'm gonna
be to have
content out, so
some Twitter Spaces live from the MAPS conference.
How
week of
nice would
MAPS.
it be if these readouts regarding MDMA happen at that conference? That would be incredible. Hope it happens.
that would be
happen.
amazing.
I've got a little PTSD from major news at conferences before. I'm not going to name
I
names,
know.
but yeah, fingers crossed.
If it's as strong as people hope it is, and if it is,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe this is the catalyst. I know we're looking at the FDA approving, but if we get incredible readouts, fingers crossed it does happen at a conference like that. Who knows?
I look at that as the punctuation point. I don't know if it's going to be an immediate right now catalyst in terms of catalyzing the sector, but it's going to be a punctuation point for the FDA, and they're going to apply for that therapy in October. That's what I believe Rick Doplin's indicated this. So that's what I think will happen. So I am very much anticipating this research coming out soon.
Well, Cody was on with us, a week and a half ago, and he was saying the same thing. Hope we get some good news leading up to this conference, because if it does, then you can start to see a lot of the chips where they'll start to fall as to like what then comes with the FDA, who's involved in that. We should do actually a story on if the FDA approves MDMA, what companies will stand to benefit most.
Yeah, I'm on that, Chad.
All right, buddy. Anthony, have a good weekend.
You too.
Enjoy the NBA Finals tonight, and enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals on Saturday night, and enjoy the beach on Sunday.
Golf course. I'll be at the golf course on Sunday.
Golf course, of course you are.
Championship tonight, championship tomorrow, golf course Sunday.
Lunch with Lionel Messi on Monday, right?
That'd be great.
Like what a time. What a time.
Not a bad
All right.
weekend.
Not a bad
All right,
weekend
see you guys.
in Southern Florida.
Yep.
See ya. What's up, everyone? So what'd you think of the interview? Are there any more questions you want us to ask? Then leave a comment below on information that you want to learn more of. Make sure to share this video with your network and smash that like button. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel, because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.